I think we are in the business of change. I think that's what our jobs are about, it's what we're employed for. Yeah? I remember Gianfranco saying, I think it's in the foreword to the Depression book, comparing Aya's attitude to mine and talking about my passion for change, which he didn't necessarily mean as a compliment, but I acknowledge it. I think I remember when you were interviewing Sheila during her workshop, again she was talking about the same issue, that the recognition that there are many, many points of view, that they have their validities and that there is a very complex interaction amongst all of these, does not preclude me having a passion about my point of view.
No, yes.
It's what I do with it and how whether I think I can impose it and so on.
Yes, it's the exclusion of other people, the right other people have to have different points of view.
Yeah.
But that issue of change is also interesting, the passion for change is also interesting, and maybe that is also rooted for you to some extent in your personal history and origins. But it brings me to start thinking about the way that it gets enacted as an idea in some of our contexts for work in this country, and thinking about the move to have evidence-based practice and how the focus on an idea about change gets then enshrined in the ideas about how people should practice. And I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
I think there's such a lot there. Can I park the idea that talking about how our working contexts are changing, because I want to come back to that. I think one of the sort of large questions you put to me beforehand was about what do I think about contemporary developments, and I think we are in this time of such profound change that I do want to say something about it. I think the idea about change is a profoundly complex one, and it seems to me that whenever you have a complex set of thoughts, all of us as we use them start flattening them out, simplifying them, formalizing them and so on. And then particularly in a teaching context, I think they get handed on second, third hand Chinese whisper stuff. People haven't read the original things. Ideas get more and more useless actually, and rigid over time, which is why we constantly then have new models, new theories, new methods inventing themselves to try and sort of ginger up the whole domain, I think. So I think trying to think about change within a second order cybernetic or a self-observing system or a linguistic system, that kind of constructivist domain has to remain complex if we're to think about it properly, because how can I put it? It links to some of the ideas that I've written about use of self of therapist. Yeah? So, and it links to Maturana's ideas about structured determinism. So if I accept, in terms of those theories, that I can't make you change, I can't make you do anything, in fact. I can attempt to influence you, but how you respond to my attempts will be determined, in Maturana's terms, specified mainly by your structure. I mean, your structure as a human being in general, as well as your specific personal history, beliefs, systems, what you think about our relationship, all of that. So I think there are many theories of psychology, psychotherapy that come from that objectivist position that say I can look at you, I can see what's wrong, I can do something which will then make you change in the way that I think is right. I think if we accept our kinds of theories, you know that's impossible. So what I then have to do since as a client, if I'm sitting with the client has come to me saying things are not right and I'm not managing to shift them myself. So can you be of assistance to me? I then think I have a responsibility to try and do whatever I can that might usefully make it possible for that person or persons to make a change that will make them more comfortable. That might be changing the thing that feels problematic, or changing their position in relation to the thing, their mindset, the description of it. All of those are kinds of change. But all I can do is try and behave in the interaction in such a way that options and possibilities for change become alive, become more available. First it talks about ethics and says behaving ethically is behaving in a way that increases choices for the other person. So I think, and then I think it's a very complicated technical question. How then, what do I can do as a therapist to do that? It's not about I've got this technique which will change you, I've got this particular intervention I'll do and then you'll change. It's the how do I behave in our interaction that invites you into finding those creativities, those self-empowerments that mean that you may wish to make some change for others, which I can't predict and which I can't control.
Well, okay, so one of the challenges, I think, for practitioners, but particularly for trainees, is when you're faced with sitting with a client and you have an idea of how it might be better, how it could be better for your client if they were to do this or that. So you have an idea of what you think might be useful direction for change. But you're trying to work from that kind of frame, that epistemology, which says that I cannot make this person change in that way. And that's a huge challenge, I think.
It's a huge challenge, and I think people can fall into different sort of holes in the road in terms of it, like becoming entirely passive and holding back your own ideas, as if it's absolutely forbidden ever to say, I think this might be a useful idea, or someone else has found this useful, or I've got this bit of professional expertise actually.
So it's can't say anything.
So then, from the client's point of view, what on earth are you doing there, sitting, like a bump on a log, we used to say when I was a kid. On the other hand, it's that then rushing in, and I know what will be better for you, which very easily becomes profoundly abusive and useless. Because it has to do with the other person's, where they are, what out of what you do they will find useful, and therefore I think it means we have to concentrate much harder on ourselves and on how we are, and it's not just our technique, it's our whole presence in the interaction, and on our skills to try and create a context which people can find useful. And the other point which I think is very important here is, if I'm a part of a system that is struggling with stuckness, then the part that I have most access to for changing is me, myself. And therefore, if I can change, I've written about this in the supervision paper, but my disposition, how I view what's going on, I can shift my perspective. Can I listen to some other people more than to this one person that seems to make sense to me or whatever? Can I move my closeness distances? Can I stand further back? Can I start including ideas about my own construction of what's going on here? Is that part of the stuckness? The more I can do that, my experience, the theory says it, but my experience quite magically sometimes, is that has the capacity to reverberate into the system.